And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. It is July the 27th. I hesitate when I say that because I can't believe that we're almost into August. But welcome. Super excited about today's show. Of course, I'm excited really about every show. But so this is where we are. NFL training camps. I mean, I went on Monday to take my COVID test for Texans camp, as part of the NFL protocols. They officially open camp. Well, we're able to be at camp on tomorrow on Wednesday. So NFL training camps are happening. They're opening. We're going to talk about that. Of course, the big story out of Houston and the Texans training camp. The NBA draft is coming up. Like it's time. I'm going to let you hear from about the player people think that the Rockets should automatically select with that number 2 pick. The Rockets have the second overall pick in the NFL draft. Of course, the Houston Astros lost a tough one last night, but they still lead the American League West as the Major League Baseball season continues to forge ahead. And of course, I guess today the biggest story is the Olympics and the fact that Simone Biles withdrew from the team competition. I'm going to let you see the vault, and I'm going to let you hear. We have sound now from Simone and some of her teammates about her decision. So all that's happening today. And then later in the show, Kim Edwards-Williams, a friend of the show, co-owner of I Love Jinka, is going to join us. We're going to talk about boosting our immunity, right? I've seen a lot of people that are getting summer colds. We know that COVID is on the rise again. And so what are some things that we can be doing, we should do, that can help us strengthen our immune system? So all of that is on tap for you in today's show. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm going to start with what I think is the probably the biggest story right now, which is happening out of the Olympics in Tokyo. And of course, later in the show, I didn't mention this, we're also going to talk a little college football, what's happening with Texas and OU and the SEC and the Big 12, and what does that whole thing mean for college sports, college football in particular in general. So buckle up. Tune in. Let me hear from you. If you have questions or comments, drop them in the chat. Good morning, Sylvia, my sister. Welcome. And with the avatar of our mom. Thank you for being a part of today's show. So drop your comments in the chat. Let me hear from you. I love it when we are engaged in this together. And remember, if you will, to share the video. So as we get started, and I've had some people ask me about sharing the video. I'm going to do that to my personal page if I can share the video. I have had some challenges lately, imagine that, with Facebook and being able to share. Let me see if I can do that. No, never mind. Okay, so I can't do it right now, but if you will share the video to your community, that would be awesome, so that we can have even more people joining us on Chalk Talk. So, all right, I'm back focused. Anyway, I'm going to let you hear. Hey, there's my other sister, Ellen Davis Johnson. How is Angel? For those of you who wonder, why haven't we seen Angel? Well, she used to hang out with my mom, so now she's still hanging out at my mom's house, only she's hanging out with my sister. And that's where she is, but I'm sure you'll see her soon because I'm going to be adding some additional lives during training camp throughout the week so I can keep you updated on what's happening. So good morning, Ellen Davis Johnson. All right, so I mentioned to you the big story. What I think the biggest story is this morning is out of the Olympics in Tokyo, that Simone Biles, the most decorated gymnast in the history of this country for sure, probably the sport, has withdrawn from the team competition. So I'm going to show you the vault, the move. So that was the competition, right? And as you could hear her, you could hear her just telling them, encouraging them, they'd be fine. So that's when we first knew that she was going to withdraw. So they've now had a chance to do the post-competition press conference. And I want to let you hear from Simone and a couple of her teammates. She talks about why she made that decision. So
I just felt like it would be a little bit better to take a back seat, work on my mindfulness, and I knew that the girls would do an absolutely great job, and I didn't want to risk the team a medal for kind of my screw-ups because they've worked way too hard for that. So I just decided that those girls need to go in and do the rest of the competition. So
the question to your teammates, what was your feelings? How was the reaction? Was it a shock when you realized that your teammate could not continue the competition?
It was definitely something that was unexpected. We were kind of emotional when we found out that she wasn't going to continue, and we all just had to put our minds in a great position because at the end of the day we were just out there to show what we needed to show, and we went up and did what we did, and I'm just very proud that we were able to do that.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of emotions going through all of our heads, but I'm really proud that we were able to step up to the plate and do what we needed to do. It's very hard to lose a teammate, especially at the Olympic Games, so I was really proud of all of us because we were going through so much. We were very stressed, put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but we ended up coming back.
I mean, I couldn't be more proud of each and every one of these girls. They've worked so hard for this, and it really just showed how hard we've been training and that we can do it no matter what, and we fought till the end.
Questions from the audience? Yes, gentlemen, please use the microphone on your back. For translation? No. Yes, this one.
Simone, I want to ask you just a follow-up, and I know these are personal issues you're talking about. If you could sort of tell us, was there any injury? That was one thing we wanted to know. And if you can elaborate on maybe the stress you've been feeling. We all know when you're in the spotlight, we can imagine what it's like.
Right. Sorry. No, no injury, thankfully, and that's why I took a step back because I didn't want to do something silly out there and get injured, so I thought it was best if these girls took over and did the rest of the job, which they absolutely did. They're Olympic silver medalists now, and they should be really proud of themselves for how well they did last minute having to go in. And it's been really stressful, this Olympic Games, I think, just as a whole, not having an audience. There are a lot of different variables going into it. It's been a long week. It's been a long Olympic process. It's been a long year. So just a lot of different variables, and I think we're just a little bit too stressed out, but we should be out here having fun, and sometimes that's not the case.
So that's some kind of updated information from the Olympics in Tokyo. You saw the vault, which is one of her. I mean, like you heard the announcer as she was leading into it, talking about how she's the most decorated Olympian and gymnast, and like no one does it better than her. And everybody's sitting there waiting and watching, and then she goes and she kind of stumbles, and she said immediately she went over and said, "Hey, you guys go do it." So what we know is from what we've just heard from her and also from her teammates, really more from her because that part of it is her story. She didn't want to jeopardize the team. She wanted to take a step back. The team has the women won the silver medal, but she didn't want to take a chance on making a mistake and it costing the rest of the team a medal. So they did medal, they did win the silver, and she also didn't want to get injured. She needed to kind of regroup and see what just happened because you hit that ball the wrong way, it could be devastating. They talked a little bit about stress, the stress of just the event, the Olympics, the process, the whole 9 yards. And she said she needed to work on her mindfulness. So that says to me mindset. So what I take away from that initially with hearing only what you've heard as well is good for her. for recognizing that the best thing for her to do was to take a step back. She's not injured, and we haven't heard yet what's going to happen with the individual or the other competitions. But in terms of the team competition, that's over. And the U.S. team did win a silver medal. And she, said you could hear her talking to them on the sideline saying, hey, listen, you have trained for this your whole lives. I've been to the Olympics. It's your first time. You deserve this. So I thought it was really her putting the team before herself. And that really is what leadership is. So I hope that she is well and able to compete if that's what she feels if she feels up to that, if that's what her body and her mind and all that can come together. So just wishing the best for Simone and the rest of the Olympians, because it has been a very unconventional Olympic experience, from missing a year to dealing with the protocols and not having just everything. And of course, there's been what we don't often talk about is when you have all of the accolades and the spotlight on you, with that is a tremendous amount of pressure and stress. And as she heard her mention, we should be out here having fun. I didn't hear her make excuses. I did hear her answer the question, which I thought was, it was good to know. So Simone Biles withdrew from the team competition. And I keep emphasizing team competition because she has not withdrawn from the Olympics completely. So when I was leaving my workout this morning, I saw it come across my phone and I was like, what? And then I read it again and I said, read team competition. And I was interested to get home and log in to see what was happening. And so that is what I would say is the very latest from the Olympics as it relates to Simone Biles and the U.S. women's gymnastics team. And congratulations to those ladies who went on and were able to win a silver medal. With those last minute changes. So she didn't we didn't see her break down emotionally, making it about her. We saw her say, hey, listen, you guys are ready for this. You've trained your whole lives for this moment. You've got this. I believe in you. So yeah, to me, that's leadership. That is what leadership looks like in motion, in action. So Simone Biles pulled out of the team competition, and we'll have to wait to see what's going to happen with the other events. So that was one of the big stories of today. We'll move over to football for just a bit and talk a little bit about what's happening with NFL teams, right? So NFL teams have, I'm pulling back up my notes. It's training camp time, right? The Texans will officially open training. The players have reported, quarterbacks reported on Sunday, including Deshaun Watson. And so as they've reported, and they're going through the protocols and all those things as you get ready for camp. Deshaun Watson is in camp, and now apparently the Texans are talking about trading him. This whole thing is just kind of ridiculous. So the Texans open camp tomorrow. So I'll be there tomorrow on the sidelines. It'll be interesting to see. I imagine that Deshaun Watson will get limited if any action. He did his part. He showed up. And so for people who've asked me, well, why did he show up if he doesn't want to be here? Well, right now he is under contract with the Houston Texans. He didn't show up for OTAs because that's voluntary. And it's voluntary, if you're not going to be around, right? Because if you're going to be on the team, you typically, for the most part, show up for OTAs. If he was not, had not dug his heels in and said that he wanted to be traded, and that he wasn't going to change his mind, I'm sure he would have been at OTAs, because it's not a contract issue. He got a new contract last season, but now it's training camp. And so I think for a couple reasons he shows up. Yes, he could be fined $50,000 a day. I double checked this yesterday with someone in the Texans front office. So I was reading over the weekend where the NFL no longer allows you to forgive fines. But the Texans, if you assess a fine, the fine sticks, but you don't have to assess the fine. Like the Texans could have worked something out with his management or his representation, and they could call it whatever they want if he didn't show up, and he not be fined. I don't know how that would have worked, since they haven't really been on the same page, obviously, in the past several months. So he did what he should do, was show up for work. So there's no fine. But here's what happens. If Deshaun were to get hurt, and I'm just, we don't wish that on him, but it's football, and injuries are a very big part of the game. Then the Texans would be kind of stuck with him and his salary. You don't want that. That really makes it very difficult to do any kind of a deal. They've already missed some early opportunities when he first talked about wanting to be traded, or that whole, all that was happening before the news broke about all of the sexual misconduct allegations. That window would have probably yielded them the most they could get for a player of his caliber. He's still considered one of the best in the game, and teams are still interested. So don't think for one moment that no one is interested, okay? So you don't expect to see him, even though he reported to the facility. He is on the team's roster, but he's also still facing those 22 sexual assault allegations, okay? And Rusty Hardin, Deshaun's lawyer, apparently spoke to ESPN and said that 10 of the women have, filed complaints with the Houston Police Department or with the Sheriff's Office, criminal complaints. And 2 of those women are not a part of the original lawsuit group. So there is still a lot that has to be worked out there. So why did he report to camp? So I told you he could have been fined $50,000 a day. And the new CBA, which went into effect in 2020, that's what I was talking about, says that fines for holdouts can no longer be forgiven. So the Texans chose to cancel their mandatory minicamp in June. If he had missed that, he would have been fined $95,000 if they held camp and he didn't show up, but they didn't have that. So 2 people at the facility on Sunday said that it was clear that when he showed up, his stance on being traded had not changed. He is still adamant about that. So what has changed? Well, back in January, they said they being the Texans, they had no intentions of trading him. Still don't expect the trade to get him off the roster if the return value isn't there. So what are they asking? They're asking a lot. So some of the things that we've heard, it's been a combination of 5 high draft picks and starting caliber players. That's what, according to league sources, according to ESPN. In terms of where the lawsuit stands right now, it's been quiet. And both sides are going through the discovery phase. According to the docket for the case, if these lawsuits continue on the trial, depositions are set to begin in September. The plaintiffs would be deposed before Watson, who can't be deposed before February of 2022. So as you can see, there's a lot of uncertainty as it relates to this case without any sort of settlement if it goes on through the legal process. So you have that going on. And now you have teams that are looking to make a deal. So what is next? The team will take the field for the first time tomorrow. He's not expected to be out there, right? He's shown up, but before practice starts, the Texans, there's a few options for the team and Watson. So if they can make a deal before tomorrow, before practice, they could trade him. That's one thing. They've already had some conversations with other teams, but apparently there's not a real serious offer as of yet. And the other thing is, if Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, puts him on the exempt list, it would prevent him from playing, but allow him to be paid. So the CBA, which is a collective bargaining agreement, says that Goodell could put Watson on the list under 3 circumstances. First, when a player is formally charged with a felony offense, or 2, a crime of violence, meaning that he was accused of some sort of physical force or a weapon, injure or threaten somebody. If either of those things happen, then that would be a way. Now, Watson has not been charged with anything that would fall under those circumstances. It also does include an investigation that leads the commissioner to believe a player may have violated this policy by committing any conduct identified above. He may act where the circumstances and evidence warrant doing so. So because the NFL is also, you have the NFL doing its investigation. You've got the two sides, the plaintiff and the defendant, going through discovery, and then you have the legal entities in Houston and Harris County investigating for the criminal charges. So there are a lot of things happening. The third case where the commissioner would or could grant, put him on the exempt list is if, in a case if a violation relates to a crime of violence is alleged with further investigations required. The commissioner may place a player on the commissioner exempt list on a limited and temporary basis to permit the league to conduct its preliminary investigation. But these cases aren't considered, don't fall under that, all right? The Texans can excuse him for practice or have him practice inside. They could decide they don't want the distraction of having him at the facility and keep him inside away from the media and fans, and excuse him from being there all together. So those are really the options. If Watson is suspended, that seems unlikely given where the lawsuits stand and the short time before practices tomorrow. And the other thing is if Watson stops showing up, also again, unlikely. There's no reason for him to show up on Sunday if he's not going to continue to show up. So, that's kind of what's happening as it relates to Deshaun Watson. Where could the Texans trade him? So the teams that we keep hearing about are Philadelphia, Miami, Denver, and Carolina. We've heard him. I think teams that he was interested in included Denver and Miami. And so remember, he has that no trade clause. He would have to waive that for any deal. So if the Texans work out a deal, it's got to be with somebody that Deshaun is willing to go play for, or there's no deal. So that's kind of the overarching what's happening. I don't expect to see Deshaun Watson on the field when I go to camp tomorrow for all those things that we just talked about that I just kind of shared with you, because it clearly would be a distraction. The Texans have clearly decided he will not be their opening day quarterback. He will not be on this roster. He will not be the person taking the snap from center when the season starts. So why have that distraction? Why have the media distraction? You could also just not make him available to media. Of course, media is going to ask to speak with him. So it's all that happening. And then there's the thing where you definitely can't take a chance on him being injured. So that is the Deshaun Watson story, if you will. And finally, it's almost time for our guest to join us. But the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that the Rockets are getting ready for the NBA draft. And they have the number 2 overall pick. Here's a short story that talks about a player that many have said the Rockets should really consider in terms of joining them. All right. So hang on a second.
Mike Perk said at number 2, the Rockets have to get it right. What is getting it right? What do you think? I'm with Perk. Jalen Green has to be the pick here for the Rockets. This guy has incredible upside, absolute springs in his legs. Athletically, think Zach LaVine, okay? He's that type of head at the rim dunker. And then also has a little bit of Bradley Beal in his game in terms of his scoring package. And he came out at 18, 19 years old, and averaged 18 points a game playing with grown men in the G League bubble. I think he really impressed NBA executives with his play, and he has as high of an upside as anyone in this draft.
And you said it, Mike. Jalen Green being with that Ignite program in a pandemic year, being in the bubble, playing on an NBA court with an NBA three-point line, with and against NBA-level players, gave front offices a real chance to evaluate him really at a higher level than even playing major college basketball. I think Jalen Green is ready-made for the pro game.
Herc, I know you agree with that. What are your thoughts?
Oh, look, this kid is ready. And here it is. If you could play in the G League mentally, you could play in any league. It's one of the toughest leagues because not only you're battling opponents that are coming for you, but you're also battling your teammates who are trying to get ahead because everybody wants the same goal. When I look at Jalen Green, his versatility, his craftiness reminds me of Jaylen Brown, the way that he's able to get out in the open floor and get out transition and finish at the basket. He is also a very, very underrated playmaker. And I think he fits well with this Rockets organization. And to me, they should not even hesitate to take this kid at number 2.
All right, we'll see if the Rockets do it. They do have 3 first-round picks, and that's their first one, number 2.
All right, so that's the name. So that's a little bit about, you got a chance to see a little video, but that's a player that many say. But that one of the things I think we can all agree on is that the Houston Rockets absolutely have to get it right with that number 2 pick. They have got to, as they start to rebuild this roster, because they are definitely in a rebuilding mode. So that's it. The Houston Astros are still in first place in the American League West. They blew a 7-run lead to the Mariners yesterday, but they're back at it tonight. So it happens. It's a long season. The big key with the Houston Astros is that they stay healthy, but they're on the road for a bit of a stretch right now, and they're actually 5 games. They're at 61-40. They're 5 games ahead of Oakland in the American League West, 6 games ahead of Seattle, and 10 games, of course, ahead of the Angels. So that is what's happening in the American League West. Boston still leads the American League East with a record of 62-40, and the White Sox are ahead by 8 games in the American League Central. Over in the National League, San Francisco still has the best record in baseball. They're 62-37. But they're only 2 games ahead of the Dodgers in the National League West. So that race is far from over. Milwaukee is in first in the National League Central at 58-42, and the Mets lead the NL East 53-45, 3.5 games ahead of Philadelphia. So those are some things that we have going on. All right, so I mentioned to you that Kim Edwards-Williams is going to join us to talk about Jinka shortly. But if you have thoughts or questions, I'd love to hear what you think about Simone Biles in terms of her decision to pull out of the team competition. Hello over on YouTube. Alex, thank you. Welcome. It's good to see you. Thank you for being a part of today's show. And I'm hoping that we'll hear more. Simone Biles apparently says we heard her say she just wasn't in the right headspace. So we'll find out what that means for the rest of the Olympic competition for her, for the individual events. So we know that she pulled out of the team competition, did not, after she had the vault, the kind of fumble, if you will, on the vault, she did not want to jeopardize the team's chance of getting a medal. She said they'd worked way too hard. They put in a lot of work, and they should be really proud of what they did, especially having to kind of overcome not just her vault, but her leaving. And the team, the U.S. team, is bringing home the silver in the team competition. So that is what's happening over in Tokyo. There's a lot more happening, but that is the story of today. The night for Tokyo, for the day for us here, because that just happened hours ago. So all the best to all the athletes at the Olympics, but especially to Simone Biles for what she is obviously experiencing and dealing with. And also we saw that Naomi Osaka lost on yesterday in the tennis. She's representing Japan in the Olympics, and let me see, I don't even remember who she was defeated by. She lost in the third round to Marketa Vondrousova of the Czech Republic. So, yeah, I'm trying to see what the final score is. What was that score? She lost in straight sets, 6-1, 6-4. So she's out. And that is what's happening over at the Olympics. We're going to go now and bring in my sister, my friend, who, as I mentioned to you earlier, is going to visit with us about Jinka.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me? I can see you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? So check your audio setting. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now? Hello, hello? Okay, because I can hear you. Let me do this for a second. So it must be an audio setting. I hear you. And let me see. Okay, let's see if that works. All right. I'm going to mute it while you work that out. Okay, now can you hear me? No? I don't know, because I hear you just fine. I'm not sure what that is. Let's see here. I don't know.
Hello?
I can hear you. I don't know what that is.
Can't hear you. Hey,
So,
y'all.
We hear you. Let me do something different and see if it helps. Let's just do this. Okay, can you hear? Is that better? No? Then it's on your end, because I've been able to, everyone else has been able to hear. Let me do this. Okay. All right, let me see something. All right, well, we're trying to work that out. Let me see. Okay. All right, she's working that out. So technical difficulties. She's gonna go out and come back in, and we will get her in. But one of the things I will tell you is that there is a special right now with Jinka. Okay, so I hear Kim back. Let me see if we can get her in this time. Nope, she can't hear anything. Okay, let me see if I pull her, because in the staging space, you should usually be able to hear. Let's try this again. All right, can you hear me now, Kim Edwards? You look great.
Nothing. Can't hear you. Nothing.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, I don't really know why that is. Let's try it again.
Okay, we can do it later.
Okay, but can you hear me now?
Do a little blurb.
Yep. Okay.
Now we can have a conversation later. Do both. Do a blurb. Hey, y'all. Out there in One Side Audio Land. Thank you, Kim, for having me, of course. I'm Kim Edwards-Williams, co-founder of Jinka. I'm sure Kim has shared a little bit. She's a proud supporter of Jinka, and we appreciate her. But what Jinka is, it's a turmeric paste. It's a mix of 8 different roots and herbs, and it is amazing. My husband created it almost 6 years ago now for me when I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. And we just knew that wasn't going to be an option. We didn't want to live like that. And started playing with herbs that our ancestors left us. And so this is nothing new. It's just the combo he made is new. And it's a beast at helping to reduce inflammation. And so if you're dealing with inflammation, over the last 6 years, we have testimonies in so many areas: diabetes, lupus, pain with cancer and chemo treatments, eczema, IBS. If it's inflamed, which we believe inflammation is the root of most disease, then it would probably help you. And so it's, of course, right now everyone's using the big word immune system for the last couple of years, right? And Jinka will absolutely boost your immune system, reducing the inflammation in your body. And everyone is watching the news, and we know what's happening with COVID, right? It's going up. Mm-hmm. And so I would definitely recommend it to add to your immune boosting regimen. It's really the only regimen that me and my family have had for 6 years, and we haven't had any illness. And so that's been amazing. But it is definitely, we have several testimonies of people that have seen relief during COVID, because from my understanding, and neither me or my husband are medical professionals, but we know that inflammation was attacking the lungs. And so we've had several testimonies of people who have said Jinka was the life-saving thing that they know that helped them. And so we're just sharing that message. We're excited because we've been in the Houston area for the last 6 years, and our network and community has been growing out and getting our message out. You can connect with us on our website, but if you're in the local Houston area, we're actually at HEB as well. And so we're in the healthy living section in the cold cooler next to the probiotics. For some reason, if we're not at your HEB, you can definitely request us. But it's and one great thing about HEB, y'all, is that you can actually purchase it with food stamps because it's just food. So we know that it helps. So we'd love your support. Thank you, Kim, on the one-sided conversation.
All right. So that is, she's not a stranger to, I was going to say to Jinka, but to Chalk Talk. So that's Kim. I will talk to you later, and we'll do something on IG. Have a great one, sis. All right. I love Jinka. It is on the screen, so you can see where you can purchase it. And you can also, as she mentioned, get it in the Houston area and surrounding areas at HEB. So, it is important right now because there's so much happening, right? There are people with these awful, awful summer colds. We know that COVID is back on the rise. And so the more that we can protect or boost our immune system, the better. Now, we're not telling you that Jinka is going to prevent COVID, but we are saying that it will help your immune system. And so we need that anyway, right? Because it's so much happening. So make sure you check out ilovejinka.com, or be sure to check it out at your local HEB store. A lot happening in the world everywhere. Of course, today the hearing started on Capitol Hill about as it relates to the January 6th insurrection. That's what it was. Those were domestic terrorists trying to halt democracy and reverse the the will of the people, which was the election results, to keep those results from being certified. That was an insurrection. That's what it was. And so today is the first day of the hearings on Capitol Hill. I just caught a little bit of it earlier after my workout and before jumping on, obviously, with you guys here today for Chalk Talk. So that's going on. I told you about the Olympics. It's NFL training camp. We've got an update about the Texans. Oh, and for those of you who are interested in what's happening around the rest of the league, Aaron Rodgers did show up. He is in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are apparently have come to or close to a deal. Both sides have come up with something. It looks like they're working on a deal to end the standoff, but he is at least in town. They showed him arriving in Green Bay, and they're working on a deal for him to return this year and also to set up his eventual exit. So he joined the Packers at their training camp on today is Tuesday, in the middle of negotiations on a revised contract intended to end his standoff, if you will. He said he did not want to play there. We know at this point it is not about money. They came back and offered him a deal that would make him the highest paid player in football. He was like, nah, I'm not interested. But according to somebody who's familiar with the situation, this a reworked deal could, if they can get it done, set up his potential departure from Green Bay after 1 or 2 more seasons. It's not really clear whether those negotiations have been finished, but I did see some video on ESPN of him walking into Lambeau Field, arriving for camp on time with his fellow teammates. And so we hear about these players that want to have that don't want to be where they are contracted to be. And there's all this speculation. I heard folks saying, oh, he's not going to go. It's a lot of money on the table. And when you start talking about what you will and won't do when you're under contract, you got to rethink it. And so he missed mini camp and whatever that fine was. I don't remember but it was big for people like me and probably maybe many of you. Maybe it's not, but I wasn't sure what would happen, but I didn't see him not going to camp. I know my brother, who is, even though he's very cynical, he all along said he will be there. What else are you going to do? You're not going to miss that kind of money, and you definitely aren't going to pay money back. So what are you going to do? And he showed up. He clearly does not want to retire with the Packers, so they're working on a deal that would get him out of there. And the Packers seem to always end up having some problems with their star quarterback. If you remember the way they ended up parting ways with Brett Favre, that was not really picture book perfect either. It was because they had Aaron Rodgers and they wanted to get him in the mix. And of course, last year they drafted Jordan Love. And so it is just Packer land. I heard some people say, well, he's such a diva. There's always something with him. But I would say to that, well, is there always something with the Packers? Because this is not their first time having an issue with the star quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is still very much in the prime of his career, the reigning the MVP. So, a lot to watch, a lot to see there. So Aaron Rodgers back at camp. So Aaron Rodgers showing up is different from Deshaun Watson showing up. Deshaun Watson, I don't expect to see him on the field, and we may not even see him at practice on the sidelines, because again, that would be the conversation. Those would be the photo ops, and not just because it would be a distraction as it relates to the media, but what does it say to the rest of your team, right? Because, we're in the locker room together, how does that work? So I'm sure that they will manage it, and who knows, maybe they'll pull off some sort of deal between now and tomorrow morning when they show up at camp on the field at 9 a.m. So I will keep you posted. Make sure you follow me on my social media platforms, Kim White Davis. You can pretty much find me everywhere there. And I will keep you updated on what's happening with those Houston Texans. We'll talk about what's happening with that draft, with the NBA draft. What do the Rockets decide to do with that number 2 overall pick? Do they make any other deals? Right now, Detroit has the number 1 pick. I say right now because anything's possible. They could make a trade, but as of now, they own the number 1 pick. And so we expect the Pistons to pick first, the Rockets to pick second, and they have some other number 1s because they've gotten a lot of picks this past season with the James Harden deal and other moves that were made. So a lot of things to keep your eyes on. And so follow me and I'll keep you posted. So with that said, listen, thank you guys for being a part of Chalk Talk. As always, I appreciate you and I appreciate your engagement. Please do share this video with your network. And yeah, please share the video with your network. I am, for those of you watching on Facebook, we have had some challenges with Facebook today, but we also are live on YouTube, and I will then show the video later as well. I'm actually going to start going live on LinkedIn when I change my platforms over the next month. But for right now, you can always see it live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So thank you. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Remember, make sure that you have been vaccinated. I encourage that. I do. Make no judgment about whatever you decide, but that's my encouragement. And also, even if you have taken the vaccine, if you're fully vaccinated, still remember that there's a lot of variants out there, and there are a lot of people moving around who've not taken the vaccine. I see them, I know some of them, and they're not wearing masks. So I'm encouraging you to wear masks where you go. Make sure that you're practicing social distancing the best of your ability. Continue to wash your hands on a regular basis and carry hand sanitizer with you everywhere you go so that you can do your best to protect you and your family. And, it helps us to protect each other. And so I'm just encouraging you in that. We've got to find a way to get beyond this virus. It is continuing to kill people, make people are still getting sick. People are still contracting it. And so just be very careful. Do the best you can to have good habits, work on your immune system. I Love Jinka is a great product to add to your regimen to really help to boost your immune system. But the other thing is we just have to make good decisions and good choices. So with that said, remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. I'll see you next week on Chalk Talk, but I'll see you throughout the week. I'll have some other interviews and I will post them on my platforms as to which place you can catch them. But I'll be doing some interviews about camp, about the draft, and anything else that's newsworthy. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time.